Hello and welcome to the Defenders and Forwards Power Rankings video. It's George from Fantasy Take TV, and I'll go through all the players that, I've put them in a tier of how much I think they're going to average, and they are in order. So, George Stewart I have here D1 over Sicily, but sort of in the same bracket. So I'll go through why I've put players in certain spots, and yeah, we'll go through defenders and forwards. So go through each defender. So with George Stewart, we've seen him in the midfield this year, super consistent, lots of contested ball, really strong midfield down at Carlton. We knew coming into the season that, he was playing a bit more defensive at Sydney, a bit of a selfless role, but now they've freed him up. And yeah, I think he's D1. He has the best role. Midfield will always be better than any other role in the game. I guess, highest rucks can sort of match it if they're unbelievable with hit-outs to advantage, and the way these defenders are going, they're not too far off. So Hewitt's D1, Sicily D2 over Stewart. The reason being is Sicily's time on the ground on the weekend was 100%. Early in the season, it was 90%. So maybe he does a bit better than he was early in the season and can, just keep on going 115 plus. 115 is a bit of an ask. I wouldn't be surprised if he or Stewart drop a tier, but yeah, he just has scores in too many different ways, and we thought he'd lose some kick-ins, but his kick-in numbers are still pretty solid. So he's D2. Stewart not far off. I think more your 1A, 1B here with Sicily, but yeah, Stewart has those high ceiling games, maybe pushing up the ground a little bit more because we see him start off on a wing at times. But yeah, he's been unreal this year, and those spike games that he can have, well, who's to say that he doesn't have another one? So yeah, just really consistent. Can have the odd down game, but for the most part, he's pretty consistent scorer. And has a high ceiling. So I have no one in the 114 to 110 range, and in the next range, so 105 plus range, Sinclair, Dawson, Crisp, and Doherty. So my D4 is Jack Sinclair. Just they feed him the ball so much he pushes up the ground. He can even take a few intercepts. So yeah, really. Massively improved defender. I can't remember how many disposals. I want to say it's pushing 30 disposals a game. I think it's a bit under that. So yeah, he's been really impressive this year, and yeah, his disposal efficiency probably a bit higher than probably regressed to the mean a little bit over the next few weeks, but it's been incredibly high the past few weeks. So he's D4. D5 I have Jordan Dawson. So Dawson in the back half of last year in the role that he's currently playing, for the most part, went 115. So he could actually be in the top bracket, but I think it's a bit of a pretty big ask. So moved to the wing in the Carlton game. Does get thrown around a bit, but scores basically anywhere. And on the wing role, he takes so many marks. He can take contested marks as well. We can even float forward and kick goals. And also down back, I don't think I've seen him take many kick-ins lately, but he does go back a little bit. So I think he can do, he can push 110, I think. And Jack Crisp I think he can push maybe just under 110. Really consistent scorer, needs to clean up those clangers. Other than that, I think he's top 6 based on this. So I have him at 6, and I have Doherty at D7. So probably too low, what some people would say, purely because he hasn't had a good back half of the season for about 5 years now. So I think in the past few weeks, he's copped 2 knocks, which I think have affected him. So that's probably hurt his average a bit. I think his 5-round average at the moment is roughly 100. But I don't know, maybe we see a little bit of regression. I'm not sure. He does go missing for patches, but he also he can rocket in his scoring, get plenty of the pill down back in a quick period. So I have him D7. I just trust the other players a little bit more than Doherty, but that's just me. I think he could even be like here, but I have him there for now. So the next bracket, I have Bailey Dale at D8. So Dale's been really, really impressive, really penetrating kick. We see how much they use him off halfback, how important he is to that team. Plenty of kick-ins. I think he's got to be taking most of them. So I've been really impressed with him this season. I think he can push almost 105. Jaden Short has come down. I think he should be here, but based on the new role that he has, I'm not too sure. He's shown a bit of a lower floor. Although he did score the 50 at halfback. I didn't think he just had a bad game though. So yeah, I'm not too sure. A bit, starting forward a lot as well. So it's a bit of a new role, and don't really have a lot of data on it, but it does feel like he's probably one of the weaker defenders that we have. But if he stayed in defense, would have seems like he was a bit more reliable scorer back there. But still not too sure how he'll go for the rest of the season. But I think he'll drop a little bit. Houston's been really impressive this year. Most people have ignored him because of his name, and he's been a pick in the past. And last year burnt a few people, so including my AFL fantasy team, which I ended up holding him to about round 20, I think. So probably longer than that. So he's at, what's this? I think D9, I think. 7, 8, 9, 10. D10. Next I have Alex Witherden. I think he's best 22. I think they kind of have to play him, but I think he's had a few games where defensively he hasn't been too impressive. But you see a lot of plays with him where he'll just get the ball on the chain 3 or 4 times and bang, he rockets in his score. So, I mean, he's shown this sort of scoring in the past, massive ceiling, but and also a lot of ball down back. Slight trust issues with him, bit of durability concerns. I wouldn't touch him, but if you have him, I wouldn't be too upset. Isaac Cumming, I think he's been really good this season. I saw Ash lost his CBAs. I can't remember where they put him, but they still got a few plays to come back into the team, so I'm not really sure where to place him. I think, and Ward was injured, so I think Ward has gone down back, so I'm not too sure what the dynamic is back there. So I think Cumming, if he was the main man, he could be upper tier, but not too sure. And then Daniel Rich, he's actually been pretty good the past 5 weeks, apart from when he got tagged. They force feed him the ball a lot, and he gets the ball in space and just kick the ball 60 meters, like do whatever he wants, set something up. So he doesn't actually have to do a whole lot to score well because of how much they give him the ball. Can intercept a bit, but I think he's probably on the lower end. Adam Sard's had a good season, so I have him in the bottom tier. I think we'll just touch on the bottom tier. So Sard's been solid. He's still running off the back of the square like Doherty does, so able to get a bit more pill like that. I think it's a good strategy from Carlton as well, so it gives him a lot more drive. I think he takes some kick-ins. I can't even remember. I would assume he takes a few, but not a whole lot. McDonald's been pretty good. He's taking a fair bit of kick-ins. Obviously, Aaron Hall's down, and he's shown a ceiling of 115 plus in this role before. Ridley's picked up the past few weeks. I think he was struggling early in the season. Not sure why. He just looked, I don't want to say lazy, but just didn't look great to the eye. And I know JD traded him early. And also, they were slight game plan change. They weren't switching the plays much down back. So I have him at about 95, and also have Pendlebury and Stephen May about 95. So May can do a bit better, but has the injury game. And Pendlebury's role is they've played him a bit more midfield. So I thought they put him in the midfield because Chris was sick, but he stayed in the midfield. Hasn't scored super great the past few weeks. Probably down back. I think they should probably chuck him down back a bit more. But who knows what they want to do. But he's still really important midfielder for them. And when they need him, when they need to win the game, I feel like it's a good chance to just chuck him in the midfield then. So that's my top, I don't know, what's that? Almost 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So I guess you want these 3. You want probably 2 or 3 from here, and maybe only 1 from this tier here. So I don't have Doherty, and unfortunately I'm priced out of Stewart. Well, I actually could get him, but it just doesn't suit the buys, and it is a bit expensive. So I'll go for Sinclair. But I wouldn't be too upset if you have like at least 5 of these guys in the top bracket, and maybe 1 of these guys, even maybe 2. You're not losing too many points there. So that's my defender rankings. So now to the forwards. This was quite interesting. So a lot of Dogs players, and maybe I've rated a few players a bit lower than what people think, but I'll try and explain that. So Tim English, I have R1, getting 20 plus touches a game. It's around the ground work. The tap work still isn't unbelievable, but when he gets a good look at a ruck opponent, at a worse ruck, he can get those, he does advantage. He can have those monster scores like he has. But he's actually, I think he's competing better in the ruck. He's just not struggling to win them against the better rucks, but it's the around the ground stuff. It just takes marks on a wing. Even provides run and carry sometimes. It's just ridiculous. So, the way he covers the ground is absurd. And, it was quite good at stoppage too. So, he's F1. Next, I have Dunkley. So, I think Dunkley could be here. But, look, just quickly, I think I have English about 118-ish, 120-ish. I think he'll go around that mark. I think 130 is a bit too much to sustain. So that's where I have him. And Dunkley, I have F2, so he could be higher, but a bit like Bontempelli, he's not just like a half forward that pushes up to stoppage. He does do that, but there are times where he has to play as a genuine marking target forward, and that's what Bontempelli does. So it's a bit of a role change from what they were last year, and it means their ceiling is not as high as it used to be. But we still see Dunkley up the ground, getting all those tackles, winning the contested ball clearances, even pushing all the way back to defensive stoppages, but at times still has that forward time which hurts his scoring. And yeah, they're not always gonna, he might have a few down games because of that role. At F3, I've gone for Bailey Smith purely because of the amount he can accumulate. If he tidies up his disposal, I think he can probably go here, and he's already in this bracket at the moment, but I have him coming down a bit. The reason being, his CBAs are slightly lower from what they were when he had that hot patch in the first half of the year. So I think he comes down a peg potentially. So I have him about the 108, 109 range. Parker, I think he did almost around 110, I think, post-buy. No reason why he can't do that again and finish in this bracket. I have him ahead of Bont, which sounds a bit stupid, but again, Bont is playing a bit of a genuine forward. So yeah, maybe it's probably, it probably should be this, but we'll go with this just for now. But I think there's nothing in it. Simply put, Parker's role is a little bit better than Bontempelli's role. That's it. But fully expect Bont to probably go 110 for the year. It's hard to see him, but again, a bit too much forward time for my liking. But you could be wrong there, so yeah, happy to be proven wrong. Next, I have Brody at F6. It's hard to deny how good he's been in that midfield, winning the contested ball at the stoppage. Just seems to get his hands on it so much, and gets the handballs out, and really effective with them. Has a bit of an outside game too. In the early days, probably struggled a bit, but a little bit of takes a few marks here and there. So he's F6, and also next I have Tom Liberatore. So he's done low hundreds, I think, last year. No reason why he can't do that again. And I think he's just about their most used mid. I was just checking this. Yeah, I think he's the midfield with the highest CBAs. Him and McRae. McRae's been a bit lowish though, but yeah, I'll probably say that's probably more than what he got last year. So he is. Oops, that's not the right one. So I think Liber is fair to have F7. A great pick. Probably just one we're overlooking because now people are looking to. Your Bont and your Baz, and now English is back, so he probably won't be in many teams. The next tier, I have Cogs, Treloar, and Zach Butters. I think Cogs seems like he has a good role. He's done higher than this in the past. He looks good. On the weekend, I think he scored an 85, really bad disposal. Had a 108 dream team, a 108 fantasy. So I think, look, he's got his confidence back. The role should be there. We'll see what happens when Hopper comes back and Taranto comes back. I think they'd be quite silly to take him out of this role and give him at least 50-60% CBAs every game now. He's the captain, and they've already completely taken out Lockie Ash out of the CBAs. They're using Perryman in there. I'm not sure if that continues when Hopper and Taranto comes back, but we'll see. Treloar's hit a bit of form. Again, Treloar has those down games, poor disposal games as well, but he's really hit his straps. And his CBAs, I don't think, was super high. Okay. Kind of looks similar to Bailey Smith. But yeah, looks like he's probably eating into the other players' scores as well. So you got to remember with these Dogs players, you look at their averages, like Bont's average last year, and you got to remember, like, this year, basically they're all playing a little bit more midfield. Like, the midfield is more balanced out. Like, Treloar was out of the CBAs a lot. Dunkley was no good because of his shoulder. I can't remember who else. And Bailey Smith was half forward wing for the most part. So it's crammed, the cram fest basically. So that's a terrible word, but anyway, moving on. I have Treloar about in this bracket. I think he can do this, but in fact he probably should be up here, but we'll see. I'm not too sure. Zach Butters, I think he is capable of definitely being here. Just got to iron out those bad games, but yeah. Wins all the contested ball. Has a few games where he struggled with contested ball. You do wonder, I don't know, was he copped a few knocks? Because he does cop a lot of knocks in games. Even 5 seconds to go with the game on the weekend, and he tries to bowl someone over with 5 seconds to go. So would love if he just toned that down a bit. Would mean that he cops less knocks during games. But yeah, nonetheless have him in this bracket. So I think you want English, you want Dunkley, you probably want at least 2 of these guys. Most people will probably be keeping Brody, and then you could probably get away with one of these guys. So I'm probably slightly below that. I have Butters and Cornelio, and I'm only going to have English and Dunkley. I'm not going to have Baz or Bont, unfortunately, but that's a bit of a pain. But I don't think the gap between like Butters and Cogs, I don't think they'll be that far off Bont and Baz. So I don't think it'll be like 15 points or anything, but yeah, this would be about 10 points, so we'll see. Heaney I have in the next bracket. I think he's struggling at the moment for sure. The intensity that he's playing at and the way he's moving is nowhere near what he's capable of, and that's probably because he's Heaney. Just his body has struggled at times in the past, and this year might be no different, but yeah, at the moment he's more playing, instead of going for those marks and really in the contest and tackling a lot, he's playing a bit more of an uncontested game. And yeah, I don't know. He did have good contested possessions the other day in the midfield, but a lot of these contested possessions are, I think it's still contested if you get fed out the ball or read it from a stoppage. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, it feels like he's playing a bit more of an uncontested game, almost like a small forward pushing up to the stoppage. So I don't love it at the moment, and I need to see a turnaround, but I think he needs to freshen up after his bye. Taranto, well, who really knows with Taranto? He's injured at the moment. He might be struggling, but not one I'd touch for this year. I don't think anyone has him, and I don't think anyone will bring him in. But you know, if he's really, really cheap and you need someone, potentially you could look at him. Aggression's been quite good this year. In the preseason, flagged to play a bit more forward early on. I think he had a minor hammy issue. I think he had ice on the hammy, so kind of got scared off of that. But yeah, he provides that real spark in the midfield for the Saints, and I think they're using him in the midfield more than what I anticipated. So he's been very good this year, and he showed this sort of scoring, I want to say, was it last year in the first 2 rounds, but we didn't really know. So next I have Lipinski, DeGoey, and Tom Hawkins. So Lipinski, I think he's just mostly a half-forward flanker that pushes up into stoppage. He does struggle a little bit at centre bounces, so I think they're using him correctly when they use him mostly off half-forward, pushing up, and you know, he can be a really good link-up player and take a few marks here and there. You know, covers the ground just about as well as anyone in the game. I would say he'd be top 10 in the game, which helps his scoring, but yeah, really lacks that strong contested side. And DeGoey's role is a bit weird. He plays at stoppages, but he pushes forward afterwards. So it's not like last year where he was getting a lot of cheap possessions in the back half. He's more of a forward half midfielder now. So I think he can just do 90. Not too sure, but the role isn't super great. And yeah, he's probably more of a trader option. And I think it's like these guys in this bracket, I think maybe not Heaney, because he can do a lot better than this as he's shown it. But I think you've probably given up a bit too many points here, potentially. So against these guys, but look, maybe if you have one of them, you can probably get away with it. You could probably be okay, but I wouldn't have more than one of these. And then Tom Hawkins, I think he's averaging about 90, so I've chucked him at 90, so he's been good this year. So that's the video. Let me know what you think, and yeah, we'll do midfielders and rucks. I don't know, maybe next week. We'll see. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.